Hello and welcome. Today we've got Michael Jaco, former CIA, and we will be discussing the latest updates, mainstream media, Trump, and much, much more with this slow reveal that's happening. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Telegram channel and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And I will also leave Michael Jaco's links below so you could follow him as well. Now, if we are watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview if we're behaving ourselves, because obviously of the censorship that's going on right now, which is absolutely insane. Michael, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Nicholas. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
No, likewise. And it's always an honor to have you. You're actually one of my favorites, I want to say.
Oh, thank you.
I want to say
some amazing guests. That's great. Thank you.
No, definitely. I want to say that, you're a former CIA and Marine. Is that correct? Yeah.
Kind of Marine, SEAL. So Navy SEALs, we're part of this. The Marines don't like to be said they're part of the Navy, but I like to throw that out there. But
okay.
Navy SEAL, yeah.
Right. So, you've had 11 years experience in the CIA. So I'm quite sure that you have contacts today that give you little whispers in the ears of what's really going on today. Have you had any type of information that is very recent? When I say recent, I mean it could even be within the last week that you could share with us and the listeners.
Yeah, I actually do. It's and that's a great question, because I have been informed that, like I have been saying, that some of these three-letter agencies are basically being dissolved, and I got confirmation of that. There's a lot of things, missions, and so forth that are being canceled. There's a lot of organizations that were active that are basically being shut down. People are saying that everyone's kind of like in a daze as to what's going on. So it's definitely from my intuitions and from my contacts that we're seeing the dissolution of a lot of these intelligence agencies, and that's for a good reason, because they really control consciousness, as we know from a lot of the media types and so forth, and because there are contacts within these agencies, so they basically have shut a lot of stuff down, shut consciousness down, controlled consciousness. We're seeing it from some social media sites, which are also often controlled by some of these agencies, that they have restricted a lot of free speech and so forth. So they're being shut down, like I've seen intuitively, and I've seen little pieces here and there. And that's being confirmed by people that I know that are on the inside.
Absolutely. So at the time of the inauguration on January 2021, many of the truthers, were very disheartened by the event of the Biden inauguration. And when we were talking about Trump's return, it was almost as if we were doubting ourselves at one point, thinking, really, are we going crazy here? Or, we were doubting ourselves. But, things are coming to light now. Mike Lindell, Donald Trump himself, and many others, including Sidney Powell, are talking about Trump's return, Biden being removed, and how that the voting, the evidence is it cannot be altered, and it would be enough to restore the event on January the 20th or November the 3rd. I don't want to say the word because YouTube doesn't like it. So when this comes out, which Mike Lindell says this August, how do you believe the masses will know the truth, especially the American people, because they need to know constitutionally who their president is? Now, if mainstream media is constantly censoring that, and the only way you can get it is through alternative media, how is it going to get out there?
Well, it's getting out there, like we're sharing it. We're sharing little pieces here and there. The alternative media, like you're talking about, is the real media now. the Mockingbird media has basically controlled a lot of consciousness for a very long time. And it's, they did congressional hearings on some of these agencies that were supposedly controlling media, and not just news, but also Hollywood and on and on and on. Books, also religions, unfortunately. So they admitted to it. They admitted that they were they had a program that basically was, and their response to that, their reasoning behind that was because they were making sure that we weren't invaded by other groups, and they had to maintain control that way. So they went a little too far with it. Whether that was the ideal in the beginning, or whether somebody took advantage of it, which a lot of times happens. The truth of the matter is now they definitely are doing it on a negative scale, and that needs to be turned around and stopped out completely. So we are getting little pieces of information. It has been leaked out here and there. The August return. So we have a parallel government. We have the United States of America bankrupt corporation, which is basically a facade that's been around for a long time, all the way back till just after the Civil War, and that's been running in the foreground while there's been good people in the background trying to turn that back around. And that's what we're seeing now. So my contacts within the military, special forces, and so forth are telling me that they're getting, like, if someone dies in the military and in active duty and doing some kind of active mission, that they get a letter signed of, like, condolences and so forth, that's signed by President Donald Trump. So there is a background, and that's been shared. I think that's actually, it just recently reached social media. It kind of slipped out there. So there is a little bit of reveal that's going on about this. It's escaping into the consciousness. Little pieces here and there. They're not able to keep all of this under wraps. Of course, I look for that again. It's been suppressed, but it was already out there. It leaked out there, and now we're talking about it. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think that American people are seeing, lots of stuff here and there. They're going to welcome the return because they're getting a little frustrated. I think way above the average person is very frustrated with what's going on. Healthcare costs have skyrocketed. Cost of everything has skyrocketed. Inflation is through the roof. We were 6 months ago an independent oil producing country that was exporting oil, and that's completely turned around. Gas prices have skyrocketed, gone up 50% or more, and basically throughout the U.S. Healthcare costs have gone up unbelievably. I was talking to one person that said that their cost for their prescription for diabetes medicine had been pushed down during the last administration to $50 a month, and now they're paying $4,500 a month. So their costs are skyrocketing. Inflation is going through the roof. People are becoming aware of it. Still, even that person that's paying $4,500 would still vote for the person that's in that facade government. So it's kind of surprising to me. Some people just aren't going to come off of that. I call it consciousness captured. So they're basically have gone hook, line, and sinker for whatever's dished out to them, and they completely and firmly believe it without any critical thought, I think, going forward. So that's going to be expected. That happens throughout history. It's happening now, but I think more and more people are waking up. And from everyone that I talk to, all the shows that I go on, all the people that I have come on my shows, we're all talking about how we're just overwhelmed by how many people are waking up to this level of consciousness and the facade of these governments throughout the world and so forth. So I think they're try at controlling the world through this last thing was basically it backfired on them. It gave
Right.
people the time to really look at stuff and think. And I have seen, people that I never would have thought would wake up to this, had the time to really look. And that's what's happening right now. People are actually starting to get that critical thinking in mass, and that's turning everything around throughout every spectrum of civilization. All of these things have to collapse. So the intelligence agencies, big pharma, the school system, on and on and on. All of these organizations, political systems will collapse. They're collapsing slowly right now. We wouldn't be able to handle it if it happened like, tomorrow. It's like, okay, everything was alive. We're gonna like change it to this. No, that would be too much. So we're seeing Nasara Jasara starting to. It's been slipping in for the last year or so. I would say, from what I've been hearing, it's about 50% intact, and all of the new laws are written. Everything's in line. Everything's ready to be revealed, because it takes time to do all that. Someone has to do all that, And so when you, it's not like you flip a switch and then boom, we're doing something else. That would be too disruptive, and would cause a lot of heartache and problems for most people. So as we're going forward, we're seeing it, come in little by little, and it's almost like that frog story where you put a frog in a pot, and they turn the heat up slowly, and then you boil him. He never jumps out. It kind of that way in reverse. People are like, we're cutting down the heat, so the people are like, oh, that was a little hot. Yeah, that was really hot. I'm glad, the heat didn't keep going on, because they were about ready to boil us. And now we're like, oh, start swimming around. And it's like we jump out of the pot and go like explore the world. So that's kind of what I see is going on right now. It's very encouraging, like we talked about, how people are waking up.
So when Trump comes back, okay, this summer, hopefully,
Yes.
let's pretend that the mainstream media is still very corrupt, which most probably would likely to be. And Donald J. Trump is the official president of the United States. The truth has come out, for an example. So would you say that, is it reasonable to assume that that would be the time and place to use the emergency broadcast system so that the American people know who their president is?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that way. I thought that at one time. I was like, that's the only way it can happen, because we just have to like really wake people up. I think the way they've done it is brilliant. I never would have guessed they would, like we talked about, slowly turn down the heat,
Okay.
and instead of the heat going up. So they have slowly turned down the heat. They've infiltrated. We have infiltrated. We've been doing a masterful job on our own, in our own right, of informing people. Getting shut down, redoing our sites, and moving around, making sure that people get this information still. So I think that it's not going to be, we're going to have to cut them off, because hardly anyone watches them anymore. I think CNN, because I look at the videos that a lot of these news organizations put out. They're on YouTube, or I see the views on them, and you and I get more views, on our stuff than a lot of these news organizations get on their sites. So that's a tell. It's not complete yet, but it's very close. Now, some people that are fairly, big names like Sean Hannity, and some of those, Tucker Carlson, they get some decent views. If they have a really good guest on that talks about some critical stuff that people want to know about, they'll get 200,000-300,000, maybe 500,000 views. But I do a really good show, and I'm getting that myself.
Mm.
So it's already happening. They're already shutting down these organizations, and the people are doing that. It's not like they're saying you have to watch this. It's like, you're going to watch what you want. The money is going to follow, what it wants to follow. Like my money is going to go where I want it to go. Your money is going to go where it wants to go, where you want it to go, and that's what people are doing now. And your views are money to them. So if you're not giving them views, they don't get the advertisers come on and they don't make the money. So it's very, very critical as we move forward to continue to disassociate with these negative organizations in whatever format they're in. And, you know, whether it's the news, whether it's politicians, whether it's, you know, whatever company that's promoting whatever product, you know, that is not good for us. You have to learn how to, you know, distinguish that, and more people are doing that. And it's fantastic. It's amazing to see. Yeah.
So when you say that they get less views, you know, for instance, CNN or Fox News, I mean, what kind of numbers were they getting before, and what are they getting now if we exclude Sean Hannity and you know, the other guy you mentioned, Tucker, is it Tucker Carlson?
That's it.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm excluding them because I know they're patriots. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but generally, what numbers were CNN and Fox News getting before versus what they're getting now?
They were getting multiple millions. Fox was the news leader for a long time, so it would have I don't know, 5 or 6 million, you know, views on a certain program on any given night, like you know, Sean Hannity or Sean Hannity had a lot for a long time, and then they had some discredited people, you know, over the years, and I think that was by design. They wanted to take them out, you know, just like they've taken us out. So some people that were, you know, super high view people were taken out, and they got like incredible numbers, well into the multiple millions. So for now, like right now, on a given day, all day long, CNN gets less than 1 million all day long. So one show used to be like millions of people would watch it. Now all day long, they get less than 1 million people tune into CNN. So that's the stats. You know, they don't want to reveal that. They're hiding that. But some people are, you know, very, very good observers, and they brought this information out.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael, I cut you off there.
But yeah, I think that's you know, that's kind of what we do. We're researchers, we're critical thinkers. We see something that doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. We go, like a good journalist would, we go investigate and then reveal the information that we find. And that's what journalism used to be like. That's what it was about. And it's not that way. It's a political tool now, and it's not people are getting a little sick of it.
Is that why I was going to say? Is that why Donald Trump tells the reporters, you know, if you did a good job, your numbers will be better, your ratings will be higher.
That's a good invitation. I like that. Yeah, and that's true. And that's true. And he gave them the best ratings ever because, you know, they could come after him, and he'd, like, you know, he'd punch back, and it was good little, you know, it's like the WrestleMania going on with you know, everybody tuning in to watch, you know, how the action went. So now that he's gone, their numbers are like imploding massively. So you have you know, Fox News, which they have another programming venue where a lot of their top people are going to now. I'm not going to promote them, but if you're interested, I mean, just look them up. They have a news program that's basically a pay channel where you pay internet type, and you get to watch them at any time. It's just actually pretty good. So a lot of those guys are going over because they can't talk on their news, even on their own news channel anymore. They're controlled. You can tell they were controlled, and you can tell they were frustrated. So now they moved over to this new channel, and now they're talking, you know, like they want to, and I think that's what we want to see going forward. Like all of us, you know, there's a lot more that we could reveal if we weren't, you know, putting it on a social media site, which is very constrictive with information and truth information. Unfortunately, they want to control, you know, what goes out there, and like we said, they're captured. It's like the enemy has captured them. We're in a war, and as we fight this war, as we move forward, we win. because the information and intelligence and so forth that's being shared is what, brings one side or the other down without a fight being shot or without a shot being fired. So that's very, very impressive, how that's going on right now. Now, I think behind the scenes, there might be a little physical action going on, but which we're not aware of. Most of us are not aware of, but it is happening. But it's not like the old days, like in World War II, where, all the world basically went against the Nazis and the Japanese and the Italians or whoever was trying to control the world. And they eventually lost, and that's a lot of that is attributed to the fact that we broke their code system. They had a code system which they called the Enigma, and we basically smuggled one of their Enigma machines out of Poland just before Poland fell, and the English basically decoded it, and we were able to know what their plans were, and we were able to react. And of course, we kept it on the down low. I think there was one time where Churchill knew that the Germans were going to bomb, I think, London, and they sent it in the open. And so they're like, okay, we're going to bomb London, so let's see if you guys respond to this. So they didn't respond to it. So London got bombed pretty hard, and probably a lot of loss of life. But they did that to protect the Enigma. They could have saved maybe, several thousand lives, I don't know, or they could save millions. So they chose, unfortunately, during the time frame. And these are things that we're seeing right now. Everyone wants to know what's going on in this basically, like 107 said, this digital Pearl Harbor that happened to us. And you can't know it because a lot of this stuff is happening. It has to be kept secret, because if the reveal happened, it would set us back for years. So there has been planning for this a very, very long time, I can tell you, for decades actually, and now it's coming to fruition. It came at the perfect time when Big T came into office. They basically set it up so that he would be their front man, and it disrupted them enough that they crumbled a lot of systems, and they pushed back on them enough that even if they took a step back, like we saw on the inauguration day, which was another reveal that 107 had on one of my shows, where he said, "There's, Biden will be at their inauguration. He will be elected," and everybody's like, it was tough to sit through that. But on an intuitive level, when I looked at that, it was like, that's brilliant, actually, because this way they'll be able to take a step back, let these guys basically present themselves to the world for who they are, and that's what we needed. That big reveal is the thing that really has turned a lot of people against this negative group. Now, do they still have power? Of course they do. They can do extremely wicked stuff, which we saw on 9/11, which we've seen on a lot of different, tragic events like that. Some of them that people don't know about. I would say that some of the shootings that we've seen were also some of their work as well. So that gets revealed on a great level. A lot of us have been awake to it for a very long time, and as we've been trying to reveal as much as we can without getting people too upset, because there is a lot of like I remember it was like maybe a year or two after 9/11 that I started revealing what I saw, as an expert in demolition, and from what I'm seeing around. And I didn't see the Pentagon hit by a plane, and I saw it hit by a missile, which it was. And so I was starting to reveal that, and the attacks were like horrific at first. I would say like 70-80% of people were like against me on that. And if I put something out now, nothing. So
Right.
I think the turnaround has been quite dramatic. It's taken time, but there's been a lot of us that have been revealing this information is starting to sink in, starting to catch traction and move people's consciousness.
So you said earlier that right now there are things happening behind the scenes, and one of the things that are happening behind the scenes is that there is some physical action. What type of physical action are we speaking about here?
So the physical action is this would be the thing that would really upset people once the reveal, as far as like just how, like we're seeing with Anthony Tony Fauci right now. So there was a big push to reveal. So this would be the white hats basically coming forward to reveal his emails, his involvement. Of course, we're well over a year into this, and people are like, well, why didn't they say it in the beginning? But people would not have listened. Now we're at a point where people can comprehend and listen to this information and understand it, because there's been enough of us that have been leaking this information or revealing this information. Because I won't say I'm a leaker. I would say that I do my investigative work, and I'm well informed after having been in on the backside of this machine for like 35 years, and through my intuitive process, I see a lot of stuff that well before it's going to be revealed, and I start the reveal from my end. And I've been revealing for a long time, what this was all about, the bioweapon lab and Wuhan, and what the involvement was, from a remote viewer type of situation where I saw these things actually being released in different places. I said that it would be released in Italy. I said it would be released in Iran. I said it would be released in Moscow, and they were within a very short time frame after I said that it was. So I can see things, and I look at why would they do it there? Why would they do it there? It's because the government at the time in Italy was corrupt. It's been pretty much removed since then, and of course the government in Iran was obviously corrupt, and then in Moscow they just wanted to go after Moscow because Russia is like Trump, they want to take them down, want to take them out because they're not part of their game. And so that's what we keep seeing, going forward. We see a little reveal here, a little reveal there. People are like, how is Russia like always involved in this? Why do they always pick on Russia? Because Russia won't play with them. Russia will not allow them to come in and take over like they tried to do in Syria. So they tried to, they've been hammering Syria for well over a decade now, and they still haven't gotten in and control it. Not to say that Putin or the Syrian prime minister is like great guys. It's just to say that they're resisting this dark force that's trying to control consciousness around the world. So we're seeing this constant Russia this, Russia that, Russia this, Russia hack this, Russia hack that. It's like, really? So we have 17 agencies here in the U.S. And, we had the one guy that basically went to Russia, ran to Russia because he couldn't go anywhere else, that revealed that, the intelligence agencies basically had everything on everybody. The phones were tapped, everything, on everybody. And, that was after they said that they didn't do that. So he revealed that they did. And so you're telling me that the Russians came in and hacked our organizations? It's not. It's basically they're attacking deep state, is basically attacking the oil industry because they want to jack the prices of oil up. And they just sold, for the first time in a long time, they sold or they bought a bunch of oil from Iran. So it's here in the U.S. Like 6 months ago, we were exporting for the first time in like 50 years or 60 years, whatever. Mm-hmm. So now we're importing again within 6 months after Biden comes in. He shuts down a pipeline. He allows a pipeline to go ahead in Russia. So who's really, in collusion with Russia? So we're seeing a lot of this stuff get revealed. People can see it. It doesn't take you and I, jumping up and down the table. Look at this. People are seeing it now. it's being revealed, over and over. Even the regular news media is starting to leak this stuff. So that slow reveal, like I talked about, even the
Yes.
news media now is starting to let things go. Occasionally I'll watch one or two of the news agencies just to see where they are. And I was quite shocked on Fox News the other day, where I saw a couple of generals come on, and they're beating up on Russia just like everybody is. It's like the thing, going forward. Everybody's got to beat up on Russia right now again. Somebody has to be the enemy, right? It can't be them. They're not doing it, but they are. So they're beating up on Russia. And then I heard one of the generals, that was two generals, in fact, two different generals, talk about positive things, and talk about how Trump had done this and Trump had done that. I'm like, whoa, that was a reveal right there. And I haven't seen that in a long time. I'd pretty much given up on the news agencies, and I'm not going to disclose what those generals said, because that would bring focus on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think they're trying to reveal, and I don't want that to be, I don't want to give it up for them. So, but it's a soft disclosure. So it's a word, just like they have been using words to control our consciousness. Now I saw recently, because I know how these things work, because I saw this stuff work overseas. And I was part of missions where they went in to control consciousness, and as a protective detail, not actively involved, but they would have people say certain things, certain words, and I was like, wow, that's brilliant, because I know how neuro linguistic programming works. Because when I did the hand-to-hand program, I taught guys, you can't be in fear, you can't be in hate, because you're in those types of consciousness. It slows your reaction time down. So if you start to learn how to look at everything offensively, it speeds up your consciousness and it speeds up your reaction time. So you react a lot faster. So just simple stuff like that. So I'm seeing the way they're using words. So I saw these two generals use soft disclosure. I saw them use words that were like, oh, it's turning. So I actually have had insight from someone just recently that said, yeah, MSM is actually has been infiltrated, and a lot of the MSM is controlled now. So they're still continuing the game, but there's enough people that are starting to soft disclose information that's going to turn it around. So at some point it'll be 60, 40, 60 more positive, offensive words, like I like to say, programming the intellect of people in a positive way, their neurons, and then eventually it will get to the point where it's 80 and 90, and that's probably when we'll see the big guy come back. So there's this reveal that's starting to happen, like we talked about. It's happening across every single aspect. There's still some that are extremely captured. I would say some industries, we won't go into detail, but some industries are still quite captured. But that, I think that is part of the reveal too, because people are getting frustrated with that, and people, when they see the bigger picture of what they have done, will be extremely angry and say, no more of that. We'll never go back to that again. And that's what we have to have, going forward.
So do you think that the mainstream media will collapse very, very slowly, like the slow reveal we're seeing?
Yeah, it's not going to be like at one time. I was like, I even heard, and this is probably, one of the plans, to actually have military journalists come in and just take over and just start putting out, the real info. I think that I thought at one time, if they just shut down the media completely, that within a few days, everybody would wake up and go, "Oh, the emperor had no clothes on," So it would happen really that quickly. I think within a week, the world can turn around, quite literally. And I've heard other people say, I've been saying that for a little while now. I said that let me run the world, and I will turn it around in a week. And we've had on guests, Mel K and some other people that they're the same. I would let Mel K run the world. She would like to turn it around herself, So there's many of us that think correctly, and all it is just thinking correctly, using critical thinking and seeing where the problems are. You go, no more of that. Let's clean that up. Let's get it out. It's done. And
Yeah.
it's that simple, It's
When
brilliant.
you said let me run the world, I could just hear Trump saying, "You let me run the country and you run CNN."
Yep. I could do that. I could do that. And we could turn it around. It would be a lot of fun. We would have a great time, and everybody would like be dancing in the streets. And I think that's coming. I think there's going to be some tough disclosure for some people that have, like we talked about, that have had their consciousness captured for quite some time. It'll be tough for them to let go of that. It might be slow for them. They'll be depressed. Hopefully, I think because we're doing it slowly, because I thought, when they reveal everything, there's going to be a lot of people just check out, a lot of people, like millions around the world. So I think they do that, because it was obvious. It's obvious. So I think that's why they're doing the slow reveal, so that, like the frog in a pot thing, they're turning the heat down instead of turning it up. So they're turning the heat back so people can, not get all comfortable and like complacent and just let, their consciousness be controlled. Now it's going to get a little cold in the pot. And it's like, it's cold in here. I'm getting out, getting out and get about. So start to see things, start to see that, there's been some manipulations, there've been some controls. It's like, oh, wow. And they can do it at their own rate. We know there's like, I know horrific things that have been going on, which would like just crack people open. It's cracked a lot of people that have been, involved in it. So that stuff, a lot of people want to know that. I think if you really want to know that stuff, you'll be able to have access to it. But if you're like, I'll take your word for it, it was really bad, let's just move on, there's that crowd, and that's going to be possible too. So there's going to be a lot of, in between reveal. I don't think there's no way the deepest levels of this will ever be revealed. It's just too dark, and that would really disturb people. It disturbs me, and I'm a pretty tough guy. So it just doesn't need to be revealed. And I know there's deeper stuff that I could even know. And I'm like, I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm good. I know it's bad. Let's just move on,
Because you understand that it's not that kind of, thinking. It's not good for our subconscious brain. And we need to keep that energy field nice and clean, happy, peaceful.
Absolutely.
We need to be the driving seat of our thoughts, because that's what we manifest. And like you said, with the consciousness, the manipulation of consciousness, they've hijacked our ability of manifesting, and then we're manifesting for them without us even realizing, because we've been so suppressed from our abilities.
Excellent. That's beautiful. Very, very well said. And that's the way it is. If your consciousness is captured in fear, that gives them power, gives them energy. And if your consciousness is aware, awake, and always, searching and looking for truth and the answers to problems, then you're a big threat to them. So that they've tried to stop that out. But of course, on one hand, you're a threat to them. And on the other hand, you completely take their power away by staying in that consciousness. So they look at you and try and stop you out and try and intimidate and create fear in you. But if that's not possible, then they lose, and they know that. So they're losing. They're losing tremendously. But when you have darkness, when you have the devil cornered like we do, he's going to strike out. So there's always that possibility of that one thing that we haven't seen, haven't planned for. This was the biggest thing when I was in combat, that we're always aware. We're always had, that massive awareness, what could go wrong, or the what ifs were always there. Even when you're like, doing really well, we had this one thing, even after you go in and you do your mission great and you're coming back, that's when you really need to turn it on, because that's when a lot of people like go, oh, we did it. And that's when problems happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at that point where we're kind of like at that point where we're like, we beat them, and we're getting ready to, like, go back and, get cleaned up and celebrate. This is the point where, we really need to be aware. And like I said, in a lot of combat missions, that's when we would tell the guys to really start to focus, because that's when you lose your guard, and that's when just like we saw in World War II, where the basically Hitler looked like he was done, and he came back with that German onslaught during the Blitzkrieg during I think it was November, December time frame, 1944. So no one thought that he had the ability to hit back, and he hit back hard, and he almost collapsed the armies. He drove them back pretty hard, and if he hadn't ran out of gas, he probably would have won. Probably would have pushed us all the way back to the sea. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that same thing where you get complacent, you think you've won, and then you start to relax, and then bam. So it's you have to be very careful at this time, and that's what I'm looking for right now. Hopefully we discover what it is, their last plan they have up their sleeve. We talked about it, the fake alien invasion, or I've never saw that happening, but it doesn't mean that it might happen in a way that I haven't seen, or no one would have anticipated. So there's always that possibility. So we have to be super vigilant in these last days of this organization as it collapses.
Absolutely. So when the big guy comes back and he makes his return, is it reasonable to assume that the reveal will be accelerated and will be having much, much more frequently?
Oh, absolutely. Now he was revealing the whole time that it was in, the soft disclosure here, soft disclosure there. He talked about how the mail-in ballots would be used to, steal the election. Of course, the mainstream media, attacked him for that, and said like for months before he left, they kept saying that Donald Trump will not leave the White House, even if he loses. Remember, they were saying that long before, he was, and I was like, what do they have up their sleeve? And now we see. So now that audit that's happening in more and more and more states, I just heard North Carolina just announced they're going to do an audit as well. And I think Georgia wants to do the whole state, not just one county. So we'll see that over time, I believe. But we need to get to the point where it's very obvious to people that, the election was stolen. And if we get to that point, then we can, move forward. And whether it's stolen or not, I just want to get to the truth. Let's get to the truth of it. We've already had a lot of, so-called audits, but we haven't had one that's like, on the level that we're having it now, where they're, going in and really looking at things on a different level. And if everything's good, okay, you won fair and square. But as we move forward, we're seeing there's lots of anomalies that just won't be talked away, and we're not going to be browbeaten, and we're not going to be talked down to like little children. We're adults, and we want an adult, look at this thing. So as we go forward, that's what we're going to get finally, after much resistance. Now we've finally got them to the point where that we're going to see if it's good, it was a good election like they claim, or whether there's some problems. So I think that's going to be, that's going to be the big reveal. And once that's determined, maybe we'll see the big guy come back in all his glory. I believe it's a possibility. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. who knows what might push that even more, so you have to be flexible in these things. If you knew there was going to be a thermonuclear war, if he came back, would you want him to come back? No. Let's hold off a little bit longer on that until we figure this out and make sure that doesn't happen. So there's lots of little things that we don't know about that are happening in the background. A lot of countries were involved in the election, as we're finding out, in a lot of different ways. So we have to get to grips on that, and find out who's involved in that, and so there's lots of stuff going forward, like you're talking about. The reveal could accelerate, as we reach a point where, okay, there was definitely problems. So let's see what they were. So then we get another piece and another piece and another piece, and then how are they taking that? Because that's what they're doing right now. They reveal a little bit of information. They see how people can handle it, and they're like, it's too much. I got to pull back a little bit, and then I see it. I see it because I've been, like I said, I've been involved in information reveals for a long time. So then a little bit more will creep out, or maybe it comes out another way. They get more refined in how it comes out, but knowing that as they reveal something, it's going to get attacked tremendously, because it's basically a piece of truth that is another cut in 1,000 cuts that basically eventually brings down the this global native empire. And so it's happening. It's happening. I see it. I keep telling people to stay positive. I think more and more people are positive as we go forward. They're starting to see it on their own, which is really where we want this to go. It's not so much that we're thinking for people as if, but more that we're cluing them to certain areas, and they're starting to do their research, and you're like, by God, that's true, and that's really what we want.
Yeah, it's like this operation. It's like they're like scientists, trying to pursue the constitution accordingly, and it's like they're mixing a little bit of acid to see how it reacts, and they're testing things and seeing how they can accomplish the results. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice analogy. And as we get a little more refined in how this information goes, it's all about how many people can take this on consciously. So as consciousness expands, as those of us that are awake, we can handle vast amounts of information very quickly. The information that I can take on now compared to just a few years ago is vastly superior, and that's because of the consciousness expanding. I've seen a lot of people wake up in a month, and they're understanding things on the level that I do, and I've been awake for decades. So it can happen very rapidly for people, and that's one of the stunning things that I think a lot of us that are involved in this consciousness movement and have been for a long time are just so unbelievably impressed with. And I think a lot of souls that have incarnated now have done a lot of work to prepare themselves. And I've even heard from people that there's galactic souls that are in here that have never incarnated here, that actually trained for like 100 years to come in and be here at this particular time. And it's like, wow, so they're super advanced souls on very, very high levels of consciousness that have basically tone their energy down to come in and basically be here during this time frame, so that when we blast off, they can help us. And that's just fabulously fascinating to me to know that there's not just a few, but millions of souls like that have incarnated now. And that's because we prepared the way. We prepared the way over vast millennia to get to this point where we can blast off in consciousness. So it's a very, very exciting time to be alive. A lot of people have been talking about, it's a very exciting, the golden age is coming. But I think a lot of people are actually starting to see, like me, that my consciousness has like quickened, tremendously. And in the last, it's like almost feels like every day is like it quickens a little bit more.
Hmm.
To and to see that happen, like I said, in other people is just stunning. It's absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Well, Michael, it was absolutely wonderful to have you back on. I'm very honored and I enjoy it very much. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the listeners before we finish?
Oh yeah, I always like to end on the love vibration note. So a love vibration, basically you're thinking love, you're sending love to everyone, anyone that's ever done you harm, you just send them love, just cut those cords that releases you and raises your vibration. And that helps humanity. Not only are you a great example to others, but your energetic field will lift the entire consciousness of the planet as you ascend your consciousness. So stay in that love vibration.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate that and have a lovely, lovely day. And we'll speak very soon. Thank you. God bless.
Right. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.